Please tell us about a collaborative, Chris, how do I say collaborative? Oh, I just said it. Please, please tell us about a collaborative. Oh, collaborative. Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative, a channel where we talk about all sorts of fun things, science fiction, fantasy, and horror related. My name is Leslie Smith. Today I am going to do the Brandon Sanderson tag. I was tagged by its original creator, Christy Luis, from the channel I will put on the screen for you because I've just learned I can't say it. I'll never be able to say it. So this tag is fantastic. It is about Brandon Sanderson, one of the greatest fantasy writers. If the world were to be cleansed by a flood again, and Noah was building an ark, and he pointed to me and said, "You're responsible for picking the one fantasy author the world cannot do without," it would be Sanderson. I would choose to bring all of Sanderson's works because if there was only one fantasy author that I could read for the rest of my life, it would be him. Any world the man creates, I just want to live in. So when Christy came up with this tag, which holy smokes is it a good one. So much thought were put into these questions. So shout out to Christy for creating this for us. The questions are just insanely well done and I'm looking forward to doing it with you. So here goes. Question number 1. Brandon wrote many early novels while working as a night clerk at a Provo hotel. What book kept you reading late into the night? My answer is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. When this book came out, I read it in one day. By the time that I finished it, it was 3 a.m. in the morning. I literally couldn't rest until I finished it. I had to know how it was going to end, and boy was it a tearjerker. Phenomenal story. It's about these parasites who succeeded in peacefully taking over the earth and assimilating themselves into human beings. There are literally parasites that were surgically implanted into your neck, and then they had these little tentacle thingies that would connect themselves into your nervous system, and they were taking over the human body and just kind of forcing the human soul out. But some of those souls were strong enough to fight back. And then of course you've got your rebels who had managed to not be caught and assimilated. It's just a story of one girl who gets assimilated by a parasite and how they coexist and come to care for and love one another and what happens as a result. Phenomenal story. Highly recommend this book. When Stephanie Meyer's website started the countdown earlier this year, I was so overjoyed because I just knew we were going to get the sequel to The Host. Nope, we got Midnight Sun, where she writes the same book she's already written once, but from a different POV. Like, really? Question number 2. Brandon's complex magic systems set his fantasy apart. What subject do you love to read about in all of its complexity? That's easy. Religion. There are so many different types of religion. Well, I really feel like it's just one religion, but different men's perceptions of how to worship, if that makes sense. At any rate, I love religion. I love to learn why people believe what they believe. Did they believe it because of the culture they were raised in, the way their families raised them to believe, or were they raised to believe something, yet as they grew older and became an adult and formed their own opinions and experiences, chose to worship a different way? I love that sort of thing. And that's what's so fascinating about Brandon Sanderson. Not only does he create all these wonderful characters in different worlds, but he also has different religions in these worlds. And I am here for it. Question number 3. Brandon gets book ideas from watching other storytellers fail to execute a concept well. He figures out how to do it better. What two books handle the same concept in strikingly different ways, and which do you prefer? For this one, I chose to let Jim Butcher and Stephanie Meyer duke it out. Both of these series have vampires and werewolves. There's really only one kind of unique characteristics to Stephanie's vampires that otherwise they're just like every other run-of-the-mill vampire you're gonna read about. But Jim Butcher's vampires, on the other hand, he's got 3 different types. You've got the white court, the black court, the red court. All 3 feed differently. Of course, the red court does feed on blood, but the white court feeds on lust. So that makes them very interesting. They're also able to sometimes procreate, whereas Stephanie's can't make new life. They also both cover werewolves. Again, Butcher's werewolves, he's got 4 different types he throws at you. But in Stephanie's, nothing different about them. They're just your run-of-the-mill werewolves. So, as you can probably guess, I'm going to definitely say Jim Butcher did it better. I'm sure none of you saw that one coming. Question number 4. Child Brandon was recommended several books about dogs that die. As a result, he became a reluctant reader. Please share a formative, good or bad childhood reading experience. Fortunately, I did not read a whole lot about animal death, but I do remember I read Old Yeller and cried my eyes out, and Where the Red Fern Grows, where I really cried my eyes out. I don't recall having any bad experiences, but good experiences, or how I was encouraged as a child reader. When my birth mother had custody of me, we lived across the street from a church. And so we were next door to the pastor of that church, and his daughter used to babysit me. And oftentimes after school, her boyfriend would come over, and they were in college and they'd be working on homework together. And I don't remember how it got started, but I think one day Scott just pushed his book across the table at me and he was like, see if you can read that. And I read it aloud, and they looked impressed. I don't know if they really were, they might have just been playing it up for me. And then he said, okay, you can read it, but did you understand what you read? Like, tell me about what you read. And I did. And again, they looked really impressed and told my mom, they're like, did you know your 3rd grade kid can read college literature? And so she thought it was a big deal, which made me think it was a big deal. And it's just one of those memories that sticks with you over time. Question number 5. Brandon and several friends host the Writing Excuses podcast, and they frequently invite guests. Please tell us about a collaborative fiction project and what you thought of it. So I have several books picked out where 2 authors collaborated together on that I want to read. But as of right now, I've actually only had experience with one, and it's just hilarious because it's the Brandon Sanderson Tag. But yeah, it's The Wheel of Time. I love The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time has been one of my first fantasy loves for just about as long as I can remember. Question number 6. Brandon's first book, White Sand Prime, was rewritten and eventually converted into a graphic novel called White Sand. What book would you like to see in another format? Y'all have heard me mention this book a few times on this channel, Round Ireland with a Fridge by Tony Hawks. It's an Irish comedian who goes out drinking with his best friend. They get drunk. They make a bet, he loses the bet, and as a result, he has to hitchhike the circumference of Ireland while toting a mini fridge. And it's hysterical. I think this would make a fantastic movie. Chris Pratt, Dak Shepard, like one of those 2 would be perfect for the role. Question number 7. Brandon writes very quickly. What prolific author or authors would you recommend? That's easy. John Gwynne. I was fortunate to discover John Gwynne after the Faithful and the Fallen series was completed, but even if I had discovered him when Malice first came out, he wrote all 4 books in this series in 4 years. 2013, 2017, all 4 books were out and completed. Now, if only George R.R. Martin could take a page out of his book. Which, speaking of, I heard a recent interview where Patrick Rothfuss was kind of getting a little aggravated that fans are always asking, when's the next book coming out? When's the next book coming out? But when you take 13 years between books, that's gonna happen. That's one thing Brandon Sanderson does right. His website has progress bars with all the projects that he's working on. So you can go to that and see exactly where he is on whatever favorite project of his that you're fixated on at the time. Me, it's all of them. Question number 8. Brandon's Cosmere Universe books are grounded in Platonic philosophy. What book or series gets you really excited about the source material? The only book I could really think of that matched this prompt really well is one that I reread recently, which is The Lightning Thief, the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. I'm really looking forward to completing the series, by the way, but everything in this book is platonic. You've got your male lead, you've got your female lead, but it is completely platonic right now. Like I said, I haven't finished the series. I don't know if things changed later, but right now, this book, it was all action, not muddled by romance, which is great because it is YA, and I usually don't find YA romances that enjoyable. They really kind of get on my nerves. I don't think teenagers know what love is. Question 9. Brandon loves to show multiple sides of every issue and to contrast character values. Please share a book that handles controversy well. For that prompt, I chose Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, which coincidentally is being made into a movie that's supposed to come out in 2021. I don't have really high expectations for it because this is a fictional retelling of the book of Hosea set in the 1850s. It has a man, Michael Hosea, that God tells, hey, that's your wife right there. That's who you're gonna marry. And that would be Angel, who is a prostitute. So I don't know that Hollywood is going to take a faith-based story and tell it appropriately with the care that it deserves. Because on top of all of that, you find out that Angel was sold into prostitution as a child, 8 years old. This book was very delicate with that circumstance as well as the prostitution part of it. She gave you enough for you to get the idea of how dangerous and terrible it was. You just find yourself stuck. Sometimes in life you do what you get told this is all that you can do. You believe it because nobody ever tells you different until you meet someone like Michael Hosea who changes everything. This book is 100% the most fantastic book I have ever read to appropriately show the actual definition of unconditional love. I love this book. This is probably my most reread book of my entire life right here. And finally, question 10. Brandon Sanderson is a writing teacher, and unlike some writing teachers, he posts his lectures online for free. What free literature resource are you grateful for? There's a lot. First of all, my library. Man, it's so freaking cool how you can go online and put books on hold and go pick them up or read them on your e-reader or even audiobooks through the Libby app. That's so cool. I love that. That's so neat. In addition, you've got Goodreads. Goodreads is a huge resource to me. I like Goodreads because I can track what books I've read. I can see what my friends are reading, see little snippets of what they feel about it. If there's a book coming out I want a little more information on, I'll go there and read a few reviews. And in this line of work, I'm all the time getting contacted by independent authors about reading their material, and to make sure they're actually legit, the first thing I do is I go check out and see if they're a Goodreads author. I'm not trying to get a virus in my email, y'all, okay? And then finally, probably the most fun free resource is BookTube. I think the last time I checked, I am subscribed to 159 booktubers, and I do my best to watch everybody's stuff. And that's probably why my TBR is 18 miles long, because I watch all these people and then I get interested in all the books and then I have to add them all to my list. Job security, right? That'll conclude this tag. Thanks again to Christy Luis for creating it for us. She tagged most everybody that I know that loves Brandon Sanderson. I found 3 of my friends that weren't tagged, and so I'm going to tag you, Brightness Katie. I'm also tagging Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena. I'm also going to do an honorary tag of Christy from Lazy Owl, just in case she has a chance to do this one. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate your support. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't. For more interactions with me and the rest of the Nerdy Narrative family, don't forget to check the description box for a link to the Discord. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.